I started my business in Hertfordshire at the bottom of the last recession when I lived over in Bushy Heath. You know, I'm shocked by the lack of experience across all political parties in terms of actually knowing what it's like to run a small business. And she's also absolutely right to say that in Whitehall the assumption is that a small business is about 100 people. You know that isn't the case. I know that isn't the case. And that's why in the first couple of weeks I made myself not wholly popular, but I said to my civil servants who are focused in the small business team, right, how many here have actually worked in a small business? 2 or 3 hands did go up, which was good. So I said, what we're going to do is I want each of you to spend a week in a small business, and I'm going to do it as well. And over the last year, I've spent a working day in 5 different businesses, 2 in my own constituency, 1 in Hertford, 1 in Bishop Stortford, to remind myself of those lessons about time is money, cash is king, that actually you have to juggle all the time, but also to get the civil servants to understand that if you work in a small business, there's no department to deal with something. You have to deal with it. You have to use your time. And it's been an eye-opener for them. And I am now pushing with the Prime Minister and others that we have 100, maybe 200 senior civil servants and politicians doing this each and every year. We need to change the culture and not just the policies. But what about growing? Now, Sandra's mentioned a couple of issues here about how you take on that first member of staff. And it's a big jump. You know, when you're a sole trader to start with and you make do, but you get to a certain point where actually you need to think about taking on that first employee, it's a problem. It's a worry. Will they be the right person? Will they fit in? Is this somebody who actually is going to add, or what happens if it doesn't work out? What happens if actually this is something that I'm going to need to get out of in a year, 18 months' time? What will the law allow me to do? Well, we've come to 2 issues here which we think are important. First of all, the balance between the rights of the employee and the employer, particularly for the small business, have gone too far. And that's why, particularly around the issue of tribunals, which is what most small business owners talk to us that they fear the most, is actually needs to be shifted. We've seen far too many repeat cases of individuals who arrive in your business, they have a nice CV, they appear to be fine, they start work with you, and then it's clear they're not performing, and so you have an interview with them, a discussion with them, and then they go off with stress. And then before you know where you are, there's a discrimination case, and so on. And so you're running a business, time is money, you settle on the steps of the tribunal because, frankly, the cost of employing a lawyer outweighs the challenge of doing it. That's the practical problem you cite to us. And what we're finding is that many of those individuals involved in some of those vexatious claims are repeat offenders. They're on their 3rd or 4th business. And why? Because the rules were changed a few years ago, where you used to have to work for 2 years before you could actually claim discrimination or employment, and they pulled it down to 1. So it's quite easy to be able to move from 1 year, 1 business to the next. And that's why we are looking to take that back to 2 years, to nip that in the bud and to stop that problem for people like yourselves. But we want to go a step further. Ed Davey, who's my colleague who deals with employment relations, is looking at a comprehensive employment law review, one, to see where a lot of the law that's built up over the years, and not just under the last government, over the last 20 or 30 years, has just, rather like barnacles on the bottom of a ship, just incrementally built up more and more complex processes. He's going right the way through it. What we're looking to do is to set out later this summer a plan and a proper and comprehensive employment law review which deals with some of the issues which on Monday the Federation actually raised in its employment relations bill. Around the practicalities, around the paperwork, around the contradictory way in which different policies don't help you, all of which deter a business owner from thinking about taking on that first employee.